Hey everybody, Manny Talavera here. I just thought I'd jump in and do a live and talk about your biggest expense in business. I want you to do me a huge favor. If you're watching this live, type hashtag live. If you're watching this as a replay, type hashtag replay. Tell me where you're watching from, how your day's going. And I'm wearing my Gallant Dill sunglasses today. I'll tell you a story about these. I'll talk about this at some point. Maybe we'll talk about it now. We're here. We might as well. So I got these sunglasses here. This is normally what I wear when I'm doing the live, and I've got another pair that looks very, very similar to those. And these are really, really similar, except these have silver frames. They've got silver, what I call partial frame. And like I said, these two are very, very similar. And so when I can't find these, if they're disappeared for some reason, I'll wear these. And then I've got the pair that I'm wearing now, and the pair that I'm wearing actually, and I'll grab, because I've got a bunch of these, and we'll just talk about them. So I've got, let's see here. I'm not seeing them all. I'm not seeing all of them because I've got about 30 pair. I got about 30 pair, and this is a pair I wear outside. These are mirrored, and these are what would you call them? These are polarized, and like I said, I got 30 pair, and I thought there was about 3 or 4 more pairs sitting here, but I'm not seeing them now that I'm looking for them. And what's crazy is I just saw them just a few minutes ago. But the Gallant Dill sunglasses, it's kind of funny because these are. Gallant Dill has a pair that's very, very similar to these, and they're really, really nice. And I kind of commented on them, and he said they cost $2,000. And so I went looking for them on eBay, not the kind that he was wearing, but a pair that looked really, really, really similar to them. And I found these, and these look really similar to what he was wearing, but these didn't cost $2,000, but I really, really like them, but I don't wear them that often. And like I said, I've got about 30 pair. I've got a lot of vision issues, and so I have to wear sunglasses all the time. And so I've got about 10 different pair based on the amount of sunlight outside. Depending on how much sunlight outside, every time I walk outside, I'm going to have a different pair of sunglasses on. But the lights in here, I got two 150-watt light bulbs above me, and it gives me a really bad headache. I could probably do a live without them. I could probably do a live without the sunglasses if it was just like 3 or 5 minutes. But if it was any longer than that, I wouldn't be able to go. And then also when I'm doing these, within reason, I don't have one today. I don't have anything prepared today, which is not like me. 99.9% of the time when I'm doing these lives, I've got a note card and I'm operating from content that I've decided we're going to talk about, and it kind of keeps me on track. But without the sunglasses, I wouldn't be able to read this. It's just a complete whiteout to me. And so, like I said, I got a lot of vision issues. So I've got different types of sunglasses for different types of light, depending on whether I'm outside or inside. And this is, like I said, this is my Gallant Dill sunglasses that I wear. So, so what I thought I would talk about for just a few minutes is your biggest expense and your biggest expense in business, and we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you all some insights. And so do me a huge favor. If you're watching this live, type hashtag Walt Live. If you're watching this as a replay, type hashtag replay. And I just thought I'd give you all some insights and talk about things that are like, off balance sheet assets and things that most people don't really think that much about. And so I thought I would get into this a little bit and just give you all some insights that might be able to help you along. And so most people think that your most expensive expense in business, well, first of all, some people will say it's marketing. Sometimes some people will say it's advertising. and they're not really close. And then some people say it's taxes, which is also a really good answer, but it's actually not the most expensive thing that you're going to incur. And so we're going to talk about what your most expensive thing that you're going to incur is, and then I'm going to give you all some insights. Um, and I'm still operating from the chair that for whatever reason. So I've got three office chairs. So I've got an office chair with the other computer that I normally use, and this is the office chair that I use, and this is the computer I use when I go live. So this computer is all set up just basically for going live. The problem is this office chair has a mind of its own, and what it's doing is the minute I sit in it, it just starts dropping, and it keeps dropping until I'm really low to the ground. And so what I got to do is I've got to keep adjusting my camera so that it looks decent. And what's interesting is right behind that chair, there's another office chair in a box. So it actually made it from the hallway to the box. And eventually, hopefully, we will actually get it out of the box and actually build it. But it's been sitting here for 6 months. And so at some point, hopefully, we'll get the office chair built. And so, like I said, generally when I operate, I'm wearing the sunglasses because of the vision problems. I operate from notes. I'm not operating from notes today, but generally that's what I do. But like I said, I'm only going to talk about a handful of things today, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was your most expensive expense. And so, you know, um, what most people don't realize. So you're going to have there are basically a number of stages when you get into this. You're a startup and you haven't made any money at all yet. And then you start making a little bit of money, but you're kind of still a startup and you're still trying to figure out how to do everything. And there's this huge amount of work and energy and pain that goes into taking your business from like zero to like, let's say 50,000 or 100,000. It's going to be different for different people depending on where you live, what your monthly expenses are. But there's a metric ton of work that takes you from zero to, let's say, 50,000. And and then that's not nearly as much work from 50 to 100,000. But what's interesting about this is that going from like 100,000 to a million is not much work. As a matter of fact, all of the pain that you're experiencing right now is the pain. Like if you're in that growth stage of 0 to 100,000, getting that 100,000 can take months or years. It can be very, very, very painful. You struggle with everything. Mindset, fear, getting out of your own way, limiting beliefs, and also all kinds of financial juggles, because you've got to juggle all of your personal bills, and then you got to juggle all of the bills of actually launching an online business. And then, like I said, there's just a metric ton of complexity going from 0 to like 100 grand. And then the great thing about it is once you hit 100 grand, if you're doing it right and you're actually scaling with ads, which is Facebook, Google, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you're spending your money, but going from 100,000 to a million is it's not painful at all. I mean, you're basically it's interesting. Getting to that level, getting to that point is very, very painful and time consuming and all of that work. But once you go from 100,000 to a million, it's very easy, because all you're doing, if you're selling a course or you're selling group coaching, is you're essentially scaling an offer with ads. That's all that you're doing. You're basically putting acceleration to you're putting acceleration to what it is that you're building. And what's interesting is, all of these people who experience this growth, they have all this pain and anxiety from 0 to 100,000, then from 100,000 to a million, not much at all. You can almost take your hand off the wheel. Once you get the ads working, once you get the ads converting, and once you're multiplying revenue with ad spend, everything gets much, much easier. It's a much smoother ride, and it's very, very interesting. Um, Months, years, 3 years, 5 years, it can take you forever. Some people never make it from zero to 100,000. And then from 100,000 to a million, you see a lot of people doing it in a year or 6 months or even 5 months or 3 months now. And then what's interesting, what the great part about this is that once you get to a million, a lot of people who do the million, they go from a million to 2 million, and they do that in a very, very fast amount of time. Because what it amounts to is, um, first of all, it's kind of you're letting your money work for you. That's a big piece of it. So um, it's kind of like compound interest, except it's compound interest running ads. So the more money that you can spend on ad spend, the easier everything's going to be. Once your ads are working, the easier everything becomes. But like I said, the pain is going from basically from 100, getting from zero to 100,000, where you're in a position and then you start running ads. Now the thing is, there's a right way to do all of this and a wrong way, and unfortunately you get a lot of people who, what they do is they get to 100,000 and they start spending money on ads. And what they will do is they will spend 30,000 on ads to bring in 80 or 100,000, and they will spend the money. And then the next month they'll spend 30,000 to bring in the money. And what it is now, what they're doing is they're living a lifestyle business. And so what they're doing is they're spending the money on ads to bring in the revenue that then they are then spending. But the people who do it right spend the money on ads so that they can make more money to spend more money on ads. And what we're talking about is doubling down. There's a term in the poker business called going south, and going south is taking money off the table. And I'm not saying you shouldn't take any money off the table. I mean, you can certainly take some money off the table, but the key here is, if you spend 30,000 and you make 90, then the next month you should spend at least 45 or 60,000. And then if you spend 45 or 60,000, if you spend 60,000, if you spend 30,000 to make 90, you spend 60,000 to make 180. The next month when you make the 180, you spend 90 or $100,000. And so what we're doing is we're increasing ad spend every month once we figure out a way to get ads to work. And that's when you see people who have this massive growth and they go from zero to 100,000, and it takes them 1 or 2 or 3 years or whatever it takes them. And then from 100,000 to a million, a lot of people can do that in a year or way less than that once they get ads to work. And then, like I said, what's interesting is if you're selling a course, the great thing about the course thing is it's all automated. They buy a course, they consume a course. The only thing that you're dealing with when you're selling a course and you're scaling a course is tickets. And tickets are basically like anytime you're selling a lot of something, you're going to have customer service issues, and customer service issues are essentially tickets. Tickets are I can't get my password to work. I can't access my content. I can't access the website. I can't access the YouTube channel or the Facebook group. And so tickets are what you run into when you scale. And it's mostly 99% of it is they can't find their password. They can't remember their password. They're locked out. They change phones. They change email addresses. And then they have to have everything, they have to have something moved. And so that's what it comes down to. But as far as the business aspect of it, very, very painless, like a metric ton of pain, 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million. There's some pain. They're different pains, but they're not so much. As a matter of fact, like I said, it's basically you're looking at not an S curve, but a very, very sharp increase. And on that increase, you're essentially on a ride. And so what you want to think about is, there are two things here that you want to think about. You want to think about runway, and you want to think about altitude. And runway is the amount of money that it costs to get the airplane off the ground. So the amount of money that it costs to get your ads to work. And you're going to have two expenses there, okay? And it's very, very simple. You're going to have the cost of ad spend, whatever that is, the cost of ad spend, and you're going to have the cost of expertise. And I can tell you, you can't get around the second one. If you try to get around the second one, you're going to crash and burn. The likelihood of getting anything off the ground, if you don't have someone who's a foregone expert at getting ads to scale, you're not going to make it. Someone asked a question. I think it's a very, very valid question. How do you know if someone's an expert? And it was a great conversation in the group, and I thought it was very, very interesting. And my take on that is when someone who's an expert. So when you're looking to hire an expert, now this is the thing. Someone who's built a course will help you create your course, create your coaching program, basically build all of your assets out. What you're looking for there is someone who's done it for themselves, right? B, someone who has someone who's actually 100% done it for themselves. B, someone who's done it for a metric ton of other people. So might not have scaled themselves, but they've actually worked with a lot of other clients. And then C, someone who's spent a metric ton of time studying that marketplace, and we're talking about, and they've studied the biggest people in the marketplace. They've studied the biggest names. So like, you're looking for marketing help, people who've studied Jay Abraham, Dan Kennedy, Frank Kern, Russell Brunson, and all of those big names, right? I can, and within reason, if you ask a lot of really smart questions and you're wanting to build your business, you can find people who can help you with that. I can tell you though, when you're thinking about ad spend and you're thinking about people who are scaling ads, you've got to find people who have 100% done it for other people, period. If they've never done it for anyone else, it doesn't matter how many people they're working with. It doesn't matter how much they've studied, because this here is where the rubber hits the road, and you've got to have this. So you've got to invest in someone who's 100% scaled people to millions of dollars in revenue. And what's interesting is there are 100 million people out there who run Facebook ads, and they say they will help you to scale, right? And they might be really, really good at getting a return on ad spend at $1,000. But the problem is they have no idea how to scale someone to 2,000 and then 5,000 and 10,000 and 20,000 a month in ad spend without everything breaking. And if you don't have that, you're never going to get anything off the ground. And like I said, there's a lot of people out there who claim to be experts at ads. And then you've got a lot of people who say they're going to do it for free for a testimonial or whatever. But like I said, you got to find someone. And so the first thing I want you to think about is where you're at in this process. Are you at the 0 to 10,000, 0 to 15,000, 0 to 20,000? Have you hit the $50,000 or $100,000 mark yet? And then are you scaling? Because this is the thing. You got two things. You build the thing and then you scale with traffic. That's it. You build the thing organically, you scale with traffic. Or you build the thing with traffic and then you scale with traffic. Building with traffic costs more money because you're basically doing a lot more testing. But what you want to think about is that's what it all looks like. And so going back to how much it's costing you, or your biggest expense, your biggest expense is waiting. Your biggest expense is waiting, procrastination, fear of taking action, not building the course, not building the coaching program, not doing 200 strategy sessions, not making coaching offers to people, not getting people on the phone who could give you money, not releasing the course. And so you can't, this is the thing. And everyone here, everyone who's waiting, I can guarantee you about everyone who's waiting is in an extremely large amount of pain. You're not making any money. You're not making the amount of money you want. You have all this anxiety. You have all these fears and anxieties and all of these things going on. And to an extent, it is self-inflicted. But I can tell you that you've got to bite the bullet and you've got to move. You've got to get yourself out of that place. You've got to get yourself out of procrastination mode and waiting mode, and you've got to make an investment in yourself, and you've got to move through that. And because I can tell you from the 0 to 100,000, you're going to experience a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, a lot of being outside your comfort zone and things that don't work. And the only way to get the only way to get on the other side of all that is to invest and to spend the money and to basically do something and make a move. And so I think that the biggest problem, like I said, most people don't realize how much it's costing them staying where they're at. So and I'll just give you an example. If your goal's 200,000 a year, right? Which is, 200,000 a year, and you've been stuck at 20,000 a year or less for 5 years, it's cost you $1 million being stuck. That's how you got to look at the math. And you got, like I said, and the thing is, you're gonna how much pain you're going to be in, how long you're going to be in that pain, it's going to be a decision you're going to have to make. How long you're willing to stay here and be in all this pain. And the thing is, like I said, the sooner you move, the sooner a lot more things break, the sooner you're going to fail a lot more. But what's going to happen every time you fail, you're learning stuff and learning stuff and learning stuff and learning stuff. And so you got to pay your dues, and to pay your dues, you got to basically step out of that. You got to make an investment in yourself. You got to decide you're going to get to the $100,000 so that you can scale to the million with ads. And in order to do that, you got to break free, and you got to be willing to experience all that pain. Because like I said, the pain that you're in, all that anxiety and fear is going to be you're going to have even more of that, because I can tell you, most things don't work when you first try them. You're going to try a lot of things that are not going to work. You're going to fail and get up and fail and get up and fail and get up. The people in this space who make the money, who are at the top of the food chain, have failed more than everybody else. That's really the extent of it. And what happens is, once you fail enough, and once you get comfortable being uncomfortable, and once you're willing to basically keep stepping out on that ledge, knowing that it's probably not going to work out exactly what you want, but you're going to figure things out. It's going to be a learning process. Then you start moving. But like I said, what you've all got to decide on is you got to decide that you're going to get out of the place that you're in. And my advice to you is basically get up and decide you're going to get to 100,000 at whatever it costs you. So whatever pain you have to go through to scale yourself out of the day-to-day and week-to-week and month-to-month situation where you're at 100,000, so that now you can invest 20 or 30,000 into traffic and into expertise. So remember, you got runway. The runway is the amount of money that it takes to get altitude, right? To get the plane off the ground. And altitude is the thing that creates the momentum that gets you to the million, as long as you don't keep going south and taking money off the table. The problem is people take money off the table too soon. And so, and like I said, I'm not saying not to take money off the table. All I'm saying is that um, once you get the snowball going downhill, you need to keep throwing more and more and more money at it. And you need to go, like I said, if you're not going from 5,000 a month in ad spend to 10,000 a month in ad spend to 15 to 20 to 30, if you're spending 10,000 a month in ad spend and bringing in $30,000 a month, you're doing it wrong. You're not trying to grow the thing. You're basically built a lifestyle business, and you're just sitting there spending the money every month. And like my goal is to double down every single month until I hit $1 million. So 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 80,000, 160,000. Just keep rolling the money over and not take anything off the table, and keep doing that until I got 1 million, and then I'll take a little something off the table. But I'll keep rolling it, And I can tell you, Sam Evans did this, Tai Lopez did this, Grant Cardone to a point did this. The people who are at the top of the food chain just kept reinvesting all of the profits into the business, and you gotta be willing to do that. And the great thing, like I said, the great thing is that once you get past that ceiling of complexity, things do get much, much, much easier. And you can take a little bit of money off the table. You don't have to live in poverty anymore. But what I'm saying is, the problem is you don't want to start investing in lifestyle so much. Uh, Pay debt down, yes. Invest in lifestyle, no. That would be my attitude or mindset on it. But that's what you want to think. And so, if you're struggling to get out of this thing and you want to get a course done, if you want to build that coaching program, I can tell you I've done over 1,500 strategy sessions. I've worked with over 300 people. I've created over 80 courses. As a matter of fact, I've got 2 courses I'm working on right now, and one of them is a how to find the money to scale your business course. And if you're wanting that, type scale in the comments, and I'm going to sell that at a very, very cheap price. We're going to put 50 people into it and get a little bit of feedback. And that's actually going to be released in the next few days. And so if you're looking for if you're trying to figure out how to scale, and the problem is, like I said, the problem is most people don't know how to get out from you're on this treadmill and you're stuck, and you don't know how to get to the next level. Well, the next level is simply running ads and basically spending the money to run ads to get altitude and then get to the $1 million. And in order to do that, you have the 2 expenses, and those 2 expenses are ad spend and expertise. And what's that going to cost you? I don't know. I can give you a little inside baseball though. So if you're going to spend, okay, let's say you're going to make $1 million, right? You're going to make $1 million, and it's going to cost you $300,000 in ad spend to make the million. Now the thing is, might cost $200,000, it might cost $400,000, but let's just say $300,000. You're not spending all of the $300,000 at all at once to make the million. What you're doing is you are increasing ad spend as you increase revenue. And so what you're doing is you're buying ads from the money that you made the previous month, like movies. What people don't realize, movie budgets are like 40 or 50 or $100 million, but what they're doing is the same exact thing. They're not spending $100 million to run ads to this movie. They're doing a launch, which is what we're talking about. They're making a metric ton of money that first weekend. They're taking that money and they're investing more in ads. And as that movie takes off, they're investing more and more and more and more money in traffic. And that's exactly what we're talking about. No difference whatsoever. And so, like I said, if you want to scale, you're going to need to run traffic. If you don't know how to scale, like I said, I've got a course, and I don't know, it's 40 ways. I think we got around 40 ways to find the money, 40 ways to finance the scaling of your course or your coaching business or whatever you're trying to do online. And like I said, we're releasing that. So like I said, if you're interested in taking a look at that, type scale in the comments, and I will drop a link or I'll send you a DM or something. I don't know how I'll get it to you, but that's going to be released in the next day or so. And then the other thing that I'm working on something a little different. So we're going to put together 100 people, and I want to put 100 people into this group, and we're going to take 100 people, and I'm going to give you every single thing that I've ever created, every single thing I'm going to create in the future. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the revenue from that and I'm going to scale my own ads. And then what's great about it, we're going to scale to 1 million, and everyone who's in the 100 is going to get all of the benefit, because what I'm going to then do is I'm going to come back to those people who invested in with me to help me to scale, and we're going to do everything to help you get over the hump. And so, if you're interested in the 100, joining the 100, type the 100 in the comments, and we're working on that offer. And so I can tell you what you're going to be getting is you're going to be getting every single product I've ever created. You're going to get all of that. We're going to put you into a private Facebook group. We're going to do live question and answer. And then the other thing that you're going to get is you're going to also get every course or program I release in the future. So even whether it's a master class, live event, live master class, recorded master class, live 3-day event, live 6-week event, you're gonna get all that. The only thing you can't get access to is the coaching, and there's gonna be an additional fee for that. And then the other thing is anything that I would do with as a joint venture. So if I do a joint venture with someone where I'm splitting revenue, I certainly can't give someone access to that. But if you're interested in the 100, type the 100 in the comments. And like I said, we're working on, and by the way, it's going to be very, very inexpensive, and you're going to be able to finance it over 90 days. But the goal is to put 100 people in this, and so that's what we're working on. So do me a huge favor, if you got some value from this, let us know. Type hashtag live if you're watching this live. Type hashtag replay, and reach out if you have any questions. If you're wanting to scale a course, if you're wanting to scale your coaching business, reach out and let's jump on a call. And I can tell you, my strategy sessions are free, and I will give you a metric ton of value. Even if we can't work together, I'll help you. But if you're really serious about getting to the 100,000 and then scaling, reach out and let's see if we can get on a call and see if there's a way I can help you to move forward and get out of that anxiety and get and basically start doing the strategy sessions or get that course finished and start putting your offers in front of people. But I appreciate you all being here, and thanks a lot.